What is up, my loves? Welcome back. Today, I thought it would be fun to do my signature makeup look. I've never thought of myself as someone who's like, you would even care about that? But I've been getting some questions lately, especially in 2 videos ago where I wore what I would call my default makeup, my signature look. I have people like, oh, that eye look is so pretty, or like, what do you have on your skin, or whatever. And I was like, let's just do it. Because we haven't really caught up on like my everyday makeup routine lately. And I don't know if you can tell, my skin's been better. So I finally got rid of my perioral dermatitis and I have been slowly reintroducing actives, but it has been months since I've been able to use any kind of actives. I have really poor cell turnover on my own without that. And so I have been using my favorite kind of gentle glycolic, which is the May Love Night Renewer. I don't know if it's actually gentle. It's gentler than using a retinol. And we be purging. I mean, I've got little whiteheads. I've got things that I mashed days ago that are just starting to heal. All this is just, it's just going nuts. So we're going to remedy all of that with some stuff today, and we're gonna be using all my favorite things, and hopefully you'll see why it's such an effective little capsule of products that serve the purpose the best that they possibly can. So yeah, signature makeup look. Let's go ahead and jump in. I have on my skin right now the SkinCeuticals Triple Lipid Restore 242. I'm back to that, and I have a couple of them on backup, so I might as well use them. I have the One Skin SPF, and then I also have some Dr. Jart Tiger Grass color correcting stuff. I've been using that quite a bit lately, so we have a little bit of green color correction happening already, and it still looks kind of disastrous. I don't want to do a primer today. Sometimes I do, and if I do, it is the Ciate Vitamin C Dewy Primer, but I think my skin has enough on it right now, and I just did my skincare, so we're going to go in with the foundation that just continues to steal my heart day after day, and that is the Prada Reveal Foundation. I have it in LN5, there it is. And I have been collecting data from both creators and viewers that this is just the most versatile foundation for so many different skin types, and people just adore it. So as I gather all of the feedback from people, it just reinforces my confidence in recommending it, because there are definitely foundations that I've reviewed over the years on my channel where I love it and it performs great for me, but the feedback that I get is just that it's really inconsistent on other skin types and stuff. So I like this because it has a really beautiful even finish. It's really lightweight, but it's also hydrating. Even though they claim that it's a matte finish, it's a very like realistic looking skin finish, and it has the right amount of coverage. It's not going to give me this shellacking. I think in March they're going to start having bays of it at Sephora so that you can go and get shade matched. So that is helpful. I do think that it is pretty true to tone though. It doesn't like skew really yellow or skew really pink, because LN5 being light neutral 5, the neutral is very neutral. It's a very good shade match for me. I'm gonna layer it up just a little bit on some spots because it's very thin. So see, you can get some more coverage out of it without feeling like you're giving yourself cake face. It always gets worse before it gets better in the pigmentation. Everything just has to come to the surface. And what I'm trying to do is get rid of the pigmentation, but what's actually happening is I'm purging a lot of clogged pores and acne. I've been acne prone my entire life, and I also pick my skin when I'm anxious, and I've been quite anxious lately. So, you know, we're all only human. Ooh, and I got a really painful one right here on my nostril. It hurts so much, I'm not going to touch it because A, it doesn't have any like means of resolution. You can't pop something right there, and even if you did, you would cry so much because of that specific spot. And I have one like right here too. It's just like, I'm being personally victimized. I did in a previous video liken the Prada foundation to the Kosas concealer in the sense that it's something that I recommend so broadly. It's something that I feel like is just a crowd pleaser. The finish is actually pretty similar, and the coverage level obviously is higher because it's a concealer, but I did receive, I don't know if you can see it back there. Yeah, see those little lids? That's the new BB cream from Kosas, and I want to go ahead and spoil it. I like it a lot. Kosas is just really good at complexion. They've been doing some weird stuff lately. I do want to do like a refreshed what's worth it and what's not from Kosas, because I do either have all of their products or I have at least tried them. I don't think there's anything that's out right now that I haven't at least tried enough to have my head around it. The thing that they never seem to belly flop on, and it's a really good thing to have as like the centerpiece of your repertoire, right, is their complexion products. I feel like that's where they started. I liked the Kosas foundation. I had absolutely no complaints about it. It just was eclipsed by other things things that I felt wore longer in my collection, but that BB cream is so pretty. It really has the most gorgeous glow to it, the right amount of coverage, and it is actually pretty long wearing. So I'm impressed with it so far, but I didn't want to do two trying new makeup videos in a row, trying to mix it up a little bit. So there is that. You can still see blemishes and stuff like that, but I would rather have that than wearing full coverage and them still probably show through, you know? The next thing, I would apologize because this is so expensive, but like every person who has bought this on my recommendation has ended up loving it. This is the Hermes Healthy Glow Mineral Powder, and it's a bronzer, like a really light bronzer for me. It's like what I use to set my bronzer area. Is it trying to hard pan a little bit? Yep, it sure is, because I do use it as that first step on top of a dewy face of makeup. So that's my fault, but I just figure if I'm aggressive enough, you know, it'll pick up enough product. It is quite golden. I would not recommend this to someone who things tend to go orange on. I do love that it's great on neutral skin, but if you're like cool toned, this is not the bronzer for you. I would recommend the one from Mob Beauty, the very fair one from Mob Beauty, or even the Gucci, which I am going to use in a second. I do pack, if I'm traveling, I pack like 4 or 5 bronzers. Depends on if you count my contour. And that's just because it's not just bronzers, it's like different colors of powder, basically. So going in with my bronzer from Gucci in the shade 1. I'm using that kind of on the back of my cheeks. It's such a soft rosy shade. The Hermes is super sheer and quite golden. Something more neutral, it's going to recede from the eye. Does that mean that this is a contour? No, but it is all relative to what is against it. And so the Hermes being more golden, you can use something that's a little cooler toned to add a little bit more shadow and contour, even just to the back of the cheeks, and it looks more natural. And for all of that, I was using the BK 102. I'm gonna go ahead and set my under eyes before I go in with my other bronzer products, because I just wanna make sure everything goes on really evenly and doesn't grab under my eyes. I love these brushes from Nikki Rose, BK by Nikki Rose. So this is hilarious. The way that like this Kosas powder is hard panning except for right in the middle. So I just use the middle and I'm gonna just set underneath my eyes. All the powders that I use are very specifically not oil control powders. These are all meant to just take down the shine, but they're not going to mattify or change the actual moisture level on my skin, because if I did that, it would look terrible over the course of the day. My skin is so dry that it's already soaking up the emollients in my foundation and concealer, my complexion products. If I were to use powder on the other side of that and it continued to like fight my skin for that moisture, it would just be crusty and awful looking by the end of the day. There's that. All of these have their own kind of either glow to them or they're just uncomplaining on the skin. They're not trying to absorb moisture. So then I have my secret sauce here, and that is the Victoria Beckham Matte Bronzing Brick. And I use the light shade here. It's really hardly a bronzer, and I use that to obscure the line that can happen between your complexion product, like your concealer being a little bit lighter, and the bronzer. And it's just such a good way to bridge that gap, keep the dimension in the skin, and not have anything be super obvious. This comes in several shades. I am honestly not sure if all the shades would work this way for their respective skin tones, but there are a lot of powders out there that you can get. You know, you could just buy a powder that's in the next shade deeper from where you are, and that will help kind of do the same thing. So how many does that? That's 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna use my Film Star Bronze and Glow from Charlotte Tilbury as well. And I'm going to use that on, I have a contour brush that I love, but like, I don't know, things just run off in this house. Today I was trying to get Simon dressed and he decided there was a shirt he didn't wanna wear and he just shoved it behind the couch. I was like, come on man, just tell me, just like hand it back. I'm just going to use the 111 here. It works just as well, but I do prefer that Angie Hot and Flashy, that gray one that I always use, but I do not know where she has run off to. Using that on the backs of my cheeks. Essentially, contour is supposed to accentuate where you already have shadow, because what you've done is you've essentially blanked out some stuff by putting a skin-colored complexion product on. And so we are painting the shadow back in a more flattering and slightly more exaggerated way, because I just like building an illusion. And so I'm taking that and pushing it into my hairline I'm gonna use it on the back of my cheeks. Basically, if you were to be in a dark room and you had light that just shot down from above, anywhere where it casts a shadow is a natural place to apply contour. And I do recommend, if you're new to contour, something like the Charlotte Tilbury because it's warmer. If you buy one that's really, really gray right out of the gate and you aren't super confident putting it on, you really could end up with like the gray dirt stripe on your face and then you'll like never touch contour again. But there are a variety of things that can work as contour that are a lot more forgiving than, you know, a gray one. So now we have the complexion product, the bronzer, and the contour all built in. I consider this to be a canvas to start on when we're making decisions about what colors I want to use and stuff. This is kind of the look that I would have as my default regardless, and then I can decide whether I want to go cool or neutral or warm. In this case, we're gonna stick to kind of like a golden thing. It's gonna be really subtle because the whole thing here is it's a default look, is a signature look. It's something that I feel like kind of goes with everything. And so we're not gonna commit really hard one way or the other in terms of like something being really orange or really coral or really purple, you know? It's just gonna be very skin native. So in a previous video, I was not kidding when I said that the Surratt, what is this thing called? Souffle eyeshadow in Ciel de Ray is my ideal one and done eyeshadow. And you're about to see why. Speaking of golden things that really go with my skin tone, it's the one. And it's this funky, I call it amphibian skin. It's like touching a frog. It is a fantastic texture. You hardly need any of it and it really wears all day. So you can really dig your finger in there. Like it still keeps its funny little dollop shape. And it's so forgiving because it's so close to my skin tone and it's quite sheer. So I apply that kind of pretty much all the way up to the brow bone and just kind of feather it out. And the way that my mind works, especially when I have as much makeup as I have, is that my eye starts to recognize different colors as like, oh, that's something that's similar to another thing that I have in my collection, especially if it's a color that like tantalizes me. Y'all still always surprise me when we do this or that videos though. When you have me compare things, I'm like, whoa, I never thought of those two things as being akin to one another, but you're like always right. So you start to feel this grip. Oh, never had that happen before. A little piece came off. You start to feel a grip. It's quite smooth. It makes a great base because it doesn't crease on me. I could just stop there. It's a beautiful one and done. But again, if you've never heard me say this before, I have small, close set eyes, and I prefer to create an illusion of them being a little bit bigger and a little bit farther apart. We're going to do that with another shadow in a second, but the next thing that I want to put on is Space Cowboy from Urban Decay because it's the same freaking color in just a different texture. And so that was something that really connected in my brain immediately. When I started using Ciel de Ray, I was like, oh, that's Space Cowboy, but just a different finish. And so it just looks beautiful with Space Cowboy on top. And this is what I was wearing. This exact look is what I was wearing on my whole face really, but on my eyes in that video. Isn't that lovely? And then I will take a little brush and just go underneath my eyes. Wow, these Make Beauty, this precision eye smudger, it's so heavy. It's like when you go to pick it up, you're like, ugh, like you end up throwing it because you're just like, it's so heavy on one end. Beautiful little brush for getting underneath the eyes. See, and there's actually quite a bit of pigment to Space Cowboy. When you spread it thinly, you can't really tell on me because it's so close to my skin tone. I like getting stuff underneath my eyes. Again, my eyes are small, so it's like when I have a fleshy color like this, might as well use it underneath my eyes too. So then the shadow that I typically use to create my like crease illusion is Poncho from Dior. And this is just one that I fell in love with out of the gate. I got it with Beige Mitza. I couldn't tell them apart on the Saks website, so I just bought both. I'm really glad that I did because Poncho has actually proven to be more useful to me than Beige Mitza because it's a little warmer and it's a little less shimmery. You really need none of this. Like none of it. It's quite pigmented. Tom and I were actually talking about how Dior shadows really belong in a single shadow package versus a palette because they are, especially compared to other luxury eyeshadow formulas, they are so committed in terms of their pigmentation that when you have a whole palette of them, it's like, you know, it's kind of hard to handle. It's like there's something mental about having them in a single pan. You're like, okay, I'm going to treat this as something that's going to have a lot of impact relative to the other things on my face. I don't know why, that's just what makes sense. And also it's like, since you can't use a whole bunch of them all at once together, although I wish they would put something like Poncho and Beige Mitza together in a palette, like that would make sense. The use case is actually more realistic to have one because you're probably going to use one. It's going to be your favorite. You know, even if you had a quad, you'd probably pick one that you liked. And take a little bit of it and put it just sort of onto my lid, just on the corner. almost into where I'm gonna blend into my eyeliner. But you can see I'm drawing essentially a new crease. Taking a brush without anything on it and just sort of blurring that out because I'm not looking for a ton of drama. I just want a believable illusion like that. And then I can use really whatever I want to maybe add a little highlight. I could do my face powder, like my complexion powder, or I could use the highlight that's in the Charlotte Tilbury palette. That one. So we'll use that. It's not even so much about giving my inner corner a highlight or something. It's about just having something there. Because it's like you have powder everywhere, you have product everywhere. You want to make sure you finish it up. So that's like the quick eye look. And then I do like eyeliner and stuff like that, which we'll do in a second. But I want to go in with my blush first, and we are going to use Sunrise from Finding Ferdinand. This is the one, and you can still get this right now. I'm not sure for how much longer, but you can still get this. We made a lot of this shade. Again, we just based our estimates on the sales last time. So there is Sunrise, and the eye look is, like I said, it's neutral and golden, but I feel like it can go cool enough to work with this because this is just a really good neutral. Like it kind of goes more neutral on me because my skin has a little bit of yellow undertones to it. Do a little bit of that on my forehead. This is the one I keep describing as the color that just blends straight from your bronzer into your complexion product. It just sort of bridges the gap very naturally on fair skin. It's a super, super easy shade to wear. And then I'm actually going to go in with the Chanel Red Camellia Revitalizing Lip and Cheek Balm in Healthy Pink, which is just this much warmer. So it's like I've built that coolness that's gonna bridge the gap. And then just to reinforce the illusion ever so slightly, let me swatch these next to each other so you can see. They're really similar, they're just slightly different temperatures. See, there's the Chanel and there's Sunrise from Finding Ferdinand from my collection. So they're a very similar tone value. This one just has a little bit more warmth to it. And that's how color theory works, is that anything that's relatively warm to what you're putting it against is going to look like it's coming towards you, and coolness is going to recede from the eye. So take that same brush. This is the BK106. It is my favorite brush to use my Finding Ferdinand blushes with. It just fits really nicely in a little pot, picks up the right amount of product. And this is a little stickier of a formula, but it's okay because everything else is powder. And even though, yes, it is quite balmy, I feel like it goes pretty agreeably on top of powder. It's not a big deal. So it's like you had the coolness, now you have the warmth, a little bit up here, whatever's left on my brush kind of. Yeah, just like a very straightforward blush look. And if I've gone too far, you know, I can always go back in with whatever complexion product is on my sponge, because a lot of times when I am building a blush look, it'll get a little too close to my nose. So typically I would zoom through my mascara and my eyeliner and everything, but since I'm actually showing you what I do, I'm going to actually walk you through these steps. So I'm going with a Satin Kajal liner from Victoria Beckham Beauty in Cinnamon. It keeps going out of stock because it's great. It is truly the bedroomized brown of eyeliners, and I adore it, and I can't stop using it. So I always go just on the outer half. Again, we are building the illusion that my eyes are larger and farther apart. And so I don't want to line all the way around, because then that says, here are my eyes. No illusion, just there they are. You know, it's back when I was like 15 using black eyeliner to just be like, here are my eyes, fear me. Less is more in my case. And then I use the freaking smudger. I think the smudger is the best thing for this product. I've been using a brush for so long, but the smudger does such a good job. I've never been the person to use a tool that came with or attached to the product. It's unlikely that I would love this, but it is just the one that I have found works the best. See, it just creates a really soft line. And now my eyes look a little bit bigger, a little flutterier, a little farther apart. Recently, my friend Steph, Beauty Unhyped, gifted me this Shiseido eyelash curler, and I love it. I love how precise it is. Someone told me the Shuyumura one is even better. Maybe I'll try that one, but it's blasphemy, but I do like this one better than the Surat. It's just so precise. And lately, I've just been into brown, trying to just soften everything. So I'm using the Thrive mascara in brown. YSL sent me some stuff though. They sent me the 200 quad, which I have been really liking because I already had the 100 quad store dolls. And then they sent me the Lash Clash mascara in blue. Be excited to try all that stuff together. And they also have a waterproof Lash Clash coming out, which I'm excited about because the Lash Clash does tend to smudge on me. I would love to see what a waterproof formula would be like. Be careful with tubing formulas in general. If you're gonna do 2 coats, do them right away. Don't try and let it dry and then put more on, because once it's dry and it'll just start clumping up. There's that. I have not penciled my brows in months. I just don't see the use for it because I have plenty of eyebrow. Obviously, if you don't, go off. Like, do your brows however. But I've been using Soft Brown from Kosas in the Airbrow, followed by the Clear Airbrow. So I do this to fill the shade in, and it's just a really nice flattering neutral brown that goes with my hair. I feel like once I get my foundation, my sunscreen, my color corrector, everything on, a lot of times it kind of loads up in my brows whether I try to stop it or not, and it'll make my brows look lighter than they are, and it just helps to put some color in there to bring it back to what it would have looked like, you know? There we go. I'll let that dry for a second, and we're going to talk lips. So this is the most recent addition, but such a quick love affair for me, and this is the Hourglass new lip liner in Expose, because it's such an effective lip cheat for me. It really looks exactly like the color of like the edges of my lips, and my edges of my lips, I'm not criticizing myself here, but they can disappear a little bit and just sort of blend in with everything. I do have lip filler too, by the way. It's sometimes fun because it's like flattering, right? To use something to bring that back. This is a pretty waxy formula. It's gonna help really keep things from feathering. It's not that like the Thrive formula. The Thrive lip liner formula, like my khaki lip liner, you can use it almost just like a lipstick all over your lips. It's just quite creamy. And this is a little waxier, a little more resistant. It's not tugging or anything, but you just feel like it's a little bit more long lasting. And I'm not overlining. I'm literally just lining my actual lips, making them look a little more defined. Then I take the Rabanne hair in Soul Kiss, and it is a really sheer, super, super cool brown. And I use that to contour my lips a little bit, just in the shadow, basically, right there. And a little here. Super effective. And then you can really use any like sheer, milky, whatever nude lip gloss for you, because I know that this is sold out, but I am using it all the time because I love it so much. But this is Cafe Noisette from my Finding Ferdinand collection, Après Ski. I said, you know, it was basically designed to be halfway in between Victoria Beckham Bikini and Chanel Boy. And I would say that Victoria Beckham Bikini or Poolside or Tan Line, I think would work well for this depending on your skin tone. Ooh, I'm hungry. Do you hear that? Do my clear. So I use the clear brow gel to kind of fluff my brows up a little bit. I do like them to look a little bit like that. I know not everybody loves the really fluffy brows, but you don't have to do what I do. I think it looks a little bit more organic. Yeah, make sure everything's really good and blended. Just kind of double check myself here. I feel like I could have a little more contour right in the hairline, right there. Shorten the forehead just a touch. And then, since it's quite cold and dry outside, I have been using the Fix Plus Magic Radiance. It's an open weave sweater. I just got spray all over my chest and it's cold. And since that's really glowy, it's Magic Radiance, it's meant to be hydrating. Sometimes it will accentuate a little bit of the blemishes and stuff, so I will go back in and just touch a little bit of powder on them and in like the really shiny spots so that it's not as distracting, because I think that the contrast of super dewy versus a little bit more mattified makes the dewy skin look intentional. I am not a huge fan on me of my entire face being completely dewy. I would rather be at like 80% dewy and then 20% a little bit more mattified, just because I like to control the way that the light hits my face. I told y'all it was quick, right? And obviously, like, I still have my blemishes showing through and things like that. This is all just life. Nobody's perfect, right? But it just makes me feel a lot more confident, and I love how all of the colors are so unified and accentuate my features without having to be too much work of like working against my natural undertones. These are all colors that go with my natural undertones so easily that I can do this really mindlessly, and it's really fast. So that is my signature makeup look lately, y'all. I really honestly am like the most proud of getting my eye look down to so few steps, because I used to pull palettes out. I used to really work and just honestly like agonize about how to get my eyes to look bigger and things like that. And it is discovering these colors that go together so well, that serve their purpose so well, that are in just such a little tight routine. It's just 3 little products right here: Ciel de Rey, Poncho, and Space Cowboy. And that gives me this very easy eye look. I feel like it's just lovely. So I hope this was fun. I hope this was helpful for y'all. This is definitely something that I feel like is a touchstone because a lot of people have been asking. I will list all the products down below. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, hi, I'm Khaki. We talk a lot about color theory here, and we focus a lot on luxury beauty. If that sounds fun to you, subscribe while you're here. Cool people subscribe. Subscribe if you're cool. It'd be cool if you did. I will put a video up here that I think you'll enjoy if you liked this one. And I love y'all so very, very much, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye!